Hello everyone, so this is week 2 of PleinAirpril, and this time around I decided that I wanted to paint some trees. So just like last week, I spent roughly around an hour on each of these, and this was fun. I haven't painted trees a whole lot in my life, so I just struggled a little bit in the first few paintings, but then starting this one and on this one, I felt like I figured out a workflow that was working for me. And so today I'm gonna show you guys how I painted this one right here and just kind of show you my process, some techniques, something that you can probably use in your own workflow. And I hope you have a good time watching this video. The first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to make a new layer. And here I'm just going to start sketching everything. And I'm using John Park's brush pad, and I really like using this Texture 7 brush for sketching. It's basically a chalk brush for the most part. And one thing that I noticed when I was studying these trees compared to when I was doing the rocks, these trees were a little bit more complicated for me at least. And I feel like the reason for that is because I haven't drawn or painted enough trees in my life, I guess. And so I like struggled quite a lot. And so my first few paintings didn't come out as successful as I wanted them to be. It's a learning process, so it all just worked out in the end. In my previous studies where I was going a little too fast, and that kind of screwed things up for me a little bit. Threw me off my game, because I felt like I should be fast. I should be doing this, quickly. But if you rush it, especially in the initial stages, and you just wing it, it's not gonna look good. Because when you get to the painting part, then it's gonna be really hard to like fix your mistakes. So, a good painting always starts with a good sketch. I stand strong by that. Do the middle part up here, the straight line down here, something like that. So like this, and probably Control T, right click, warp. Maybe I can pull this guy a little bit down here like that. So I think there's one big piece going around this way. And then more lines up here. Yeah, and I'm constantly like transforming my sketch as well, moving it and fixing it as I need to. I highly recommend putting a horizon line in the beginning, which I totally forgot to do. And having that in the very beginning really helps. Now, I've said this before, but I like opening up my reference images on Pinterest instead of like saving it and opening it in Photoshop, because I feel like that way it forces me to not color pick and just use my eyes to find the right colors and train my eyes to see the right colors. Because many times if you just have this open in the exact same file, it's so easy to just be like, take the easy route and be like, oh my god, I'm stressed, I'll just color pick. And then when you're doing that, you get, I would definitely think it's okay to do that, but at some point you want to like get away from that habit. And I feel like when you take the easy route all the time, at some point you're just not learning much. If you're a beginner, definitely do color pick, because it's really helpful. But really analyze and look at your color wheel and be like, oh, okay, this is where it landed. And I'm going pretty detailed with this sketch. Well, it's not that detailed, and I feel like sometimes it's helpful. I feel like I've learned a lot in this week. I feel like in the previous video I was saying things like, oh, keep it simple, but sometimes it's hard to keep it simple, y'all. Like, I don't know. I can't keep it simple. If I keep it really simple, when it comes to like painting it, when I'm at the painting stage, I struggle with that, because I'm like, okay, where's what? Where do I put my shadows and things like that? So definitely, I think it's a case by case thing. Like sometimes you can get away with just a simple sketch. Sometimes it might be helpful to add, a little bit more lines here and there, or your lines showing where everything is going, I guess. There are some tree trunks in the distance. I think I'm gonna skip drawing those. I'll just draw this one up here on this side. So yeah, in a piece like this, I definitely think you should use a lot of layers, just separating out your foreground, midground, and background elements. In a lot of my studies that I did for PleinAirpril, I usually did everything in just like one layer, because I don't know, it's a pain in the ass having so many layers. But whenever you have atmosphere, it's gonna be easier to just have multiple layers. And I think I'm gonna keep my sketch layer on. I'll probably just lower down the opacity, put it on multiply, because you have to think about also one thing. So this is just, I'm generally going to spend an hour on this, right? And having a sketch kind of helps in the sense where it preserves some of my detailing, like, you know, the edges, the contour lines and whatnot. Because what I was doing in the previous trees that I painted, like, because so for the rocks, it worked out perfectly to not having a sketch, right? Like I would just like hide my sketch layer. But with trees, I felt like it wasn't really working out the way I wanted it to. Almost 8 minutes in. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to my background layer and I'll just like block in my background colors. Use texture brush 5. I usually bring my color wheel real close to my reference image and try to like match my color, I think, as close as I can. Sometimes I can get it perfectly right, sometimes I cannot. Oh, also my sketch, I'm gonna change it to multiply. There you go. Let's just do this. And then it's not exactly white up here, it's more like a misty greenish of some sort. It's almost a little blue. I don't know. Let's see, what is this? Yeah, I think something like this should look good. It's all gonna get covered mostly, but I don't know. I'm just like playing around with it, seeing if I can get something cool happening. Okay, now I'm gonna start doing the base color for my trees up here. This is the part where it sucks. Like I feel like for whenever I painted trees that were not really like brown, they're more like greenish in tone. Like my brain just wanted me to pick the color brown, but then they're not brown. And so that's where I had a lot of issues with this in general. So I'm actually gonna pick, yeah, let me just use the lasso. I'm gonna just paint all this. But I really like this brush because it has this cool sort of colored jitter on it where it adds a little bit of noise, which I think looks pretty cool. It's very subtle, but I think it looks really nice. So I'm gonna do that for this tree and then make another layer, put that at the bottom, and then we'll fill that one next. And the reason why I'm putting them on separate layer, that way I can like make selections easily and then add some atmosphere. I think for now I'll just put them all under the same base color. Okay, I'm just gonna lock my transparency on this and I'm gonna start painting. So for the painting part, I'm actually gonna change my brush for that. And so this is the part where I feel like it's also helpful to squint sometimes and seeing your values a little bit much better that way. I think I'm gonna go with 7 right here. This is the same brush that I used to sketch. So let's grab that. A little bit dark. Right now I'm just trying to block in like some bigger shapes here. Bigger shadows. I feel like I went a little dark on my base color. I might have to add some highlights up there. And the green grass that's on the moss, I guess, that's on the tree trunk, I'll put that on a separate layer so that I can easily paint it on top of it. 20 minutes in. Wow, I gotta catch up. I'm trying to like paint it in the direction of like the bark, I guess. Oh, this is so hard. Oh my god, I'm struggling right now. I feel like I'm a little too green on this. I might have to tweak my colors a little bit. Let's go to maybe move it a little. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, that looks much better. I'm always trying to like abstract it a little bit, but I just doesn't turn out the way I want it to. Struggle with that stuff. Like my brain just cannot like simplify sometimes, and I don't know what to do. Like also, the one thing I like about Photoshop, you can change the blend mode of your brush, which saves a lot of time. I feel like instead of making a new layer, putting that on a different blend mode, no, you just like change your brush's blend mode. Now it works better if you're on the same layer. If I make a new layer and then change the blend mode of my brush, then it doesn't work right, because then it's painting the original color first, and then on top of that, it's adding that extra value. So in that case, it doesn't work that well. So just food for thought. Let's actually use this brush right here next. And so usually I'm just experimenting with my different brushes also, and it's also an opportunity for me to like see, you know, what brush is working and what's not working. That's why I love doing studies sometimes. I feel like I make some really cool discoveries. But yeah, but this is hard. Like, you know, I feel like the more you struggle though, the more growth you'll see though. And I feel like some of the pieces that I that I don't consider my best pieces at all. I feel like I've grown the most in those pieces. And that's what it was with this week in general. Like I just struggled so much painting these, but I'm pretty sure at the end of the day, I'm gonna grow out. I'm gonna come out a lot stronger than I was before, and my skills are gonna be a lot better than they were before. Like it's crazy. Like I've sketched trees a lot, but I've just like not painted them. And this was the first time ever I actually sat down and I like painted trees, and I'm like, shit, why can I not get this right? Okay, I'm actually gonna make a new layer now. I'm gonna throw in some of that little grass up there. Let's see, what color should I make it? This should be darker here, but for now I'm just gonna throw that up here. This texture block brush is pretty good. I'm almost 23 minutes on this, and so I feel like I need to move on a little bit and start painting a little bit more around my scene also, and then I can always like come back. So up here I think I can just throw in some noise down here to kind of show that it's grass up there. Do a little bit of that texture magic up here. So this is before the sketch, is after. So I think having the sketch on will be better. I feel like we'll see. We'll see. Wrong brush. Most of it's gonna be hidden with mist, so I don't think I'll be able to show too much detail on these. We'll just add some noise on that. This one's gonna be like heavily covered in mist, and I don't think I should be spending the time to render this out properly. Add some color to this also. I totally forgot about this branch. Silhouette that a little bit. Lower down the opacity of my sketch. There you go. Alright, okay, awesome. So I'm gonna go back to this. And let's see if I can put this on overlay. Okay, this looks better. Yeah. So my grass that I had on top of my tree, I put that on overlay. And then from there I can make another layer, and that's where I can like start refining the colors a little bit more. So hold on, let's put it on overlay and paint a little bit up here. Overlay is a really good way of like blending colors. But yeah, I'm trying not to keep this time lapse. I feel like I thought I'll keep this fairly real time and then just, do some cuts here and there. Because I also don't like to make my videos like super long, Because I feel like if I'm watching a YouTube video and if it's like long, I'll lose interest in it. So I feel like we're getting somewhere with this. I think let's go here. Add a little bit of. So I'm recording on OBS, the screen recording program, and I have it open on my second monitor. And sometimes like there's some values and shades and colors that I'm not able to see on my tablet. So then I look to my left and I'm like, oh shit, gotta make it darker here, lighter there. So I'm gonna try adding some atmosphere now. Almost 33 minutes in. Okay, it's not too bad. I think I'll add some on top like that. Yeah, man, it's all that atmosphere, baby. Atmosphere magic. Put some this back here. And this is where I feel like those selections are coming in very handy. Let's attach that. Shift I. Come right there. Yeah, just a little bit of that helps. Okay, let's go back up here and see if I can render this a little bit more. At this point, I feel like I'm just using the lasso tool to kind of carve out some shapes. Maybe I can just make a new layer on top of everything and start rendering a little bit more. First of all, I feel like I should probably make this a little bit more darker up here. So there's a clear value separation. And then here, I feel like definitely do something like this, maybe. Well, like that. Little punch of green. Make it a little bit more brighter, I guess. Yep. It's working a lot better now. Put this on color dodge. Paint a little bit. There you go. And up here. All right. I guess we can move on a little bit to the other trees. Here, let's put this on overlay. Gonna hint a little bit. You know, I'm not gonna do too much. Just gonna make a little bit of greens here and there. Sometimes less is more. Also, it's like covered in mist anyway, so do some simple indications here. Okay, I want to start refining this a little bit more. This bottom part. Paint a little bit of that. I feel like I should add more texture to it though. Grab my soft round brush again. Paint a little bit of mist back here. I'm just gonna add some shadows to this tree as well. Probably paint a little bit. Oh. Just a tad bit. And now what I want to do is that I want to break the shape of the tree trunk in the foreground a little bit, add a little bit of variation. Chalk brush works pretty nicely with this. Still have my sketch here, and you know, it's still doing a little bit of work here and there. Sometimes you can just like get rid of the sketch, but I want to keep it up there because I feel like it's adding a little bit of detail. It's preserving some of the detail that I had in my sketch. Let's see, so we are 40 minutes into this painting now. I feel like we've made some good progress here. So it's all about like prioritizing, right, where you want to spend most of your time on. So for me, it was this tree in the foreground. So I'm gonna do whatever I can to make this be as nice and polished as possible, and then the rest can just be like more suggestive. Make my brush real small now. See if I can add some of those cracks. And at this point, it's just more about rendering everything out properly. And so, like I said, you know, spend at least the first 30 minutes trying to, you know, get all your forms right, your composition, values. I think my values are still a little off here, but not sure, maybe a little bit. I can probably fix them with just a hue saturation slider. And then the last 20 minutes, you can just spend that on just detailing stuff. And honestly, you can just like stop at this point also, but you know, I want to spend like an hour at least on this. So I'm gonna keep going a little bit more. I feel like I should render the little moss a little bit more. Let's use all right, so at this point I feel like I'm at a pretty good stopping point. I still have like maybe I'm on 55 minutes now, so I still have like 5 more minutes, so I can spend that time, you know, just refining things a little bit more here and there. All right, so I think this is a good stopping point for this. What I usually like to do is that after I'm done with these, I try to, well, I'm gonna make a copy of all my layers, select everything, shift click, Control J, and then Control E. That way I have like one layer that has everything on it. And yes, if I like, and then what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna put this on filter, other, and then high pass. And so what high pass does is that if you put this on overlay now, let me reveal all my layers. It adds a little extra, you know, painterly texture to everything. It's very, you know, it's very minimal. It's very low key, but you know, it's pretty good. I mean, if you want to like show off your brush strokes and whatnot, I feel like it's really good. Sometimes I'll lower down the opacity on this if it gets a little too intense. So just you know, just a little bit. All right, but yeah, this is it. So day 14 of PleinAirpril. I'm actually really happy with how this turned out. When I first started it, I was, you know, a little nervous, but I feel like as I worked towards it, you know, everything just started like coming all together. And you know, it's one of those things where I just, you know, trust the process and just keep going. Don't give up. I was ready to give up on this because I was like, dang it, it doesn't look good at all. But you just keep going, keep practicing, keep painting. And it's not perfect, but like the amount of time that I had, I feel like I did pretty good in 1 hour. All right, you guys, so that should be all for today. Thank you so much for coming by and watching this video. Hopefully you guys learned a thing or two from this video, and I actually had a really good time this week. I felt like I had a lot of growth this week because I was painting stuff that I'm not used to painting, and it definitely helped me. Like after painting 5 of these, the 6th and 7th were so good because I kind of failed a lot in those first few. So I guess one lesson I want you guys to take away from this video is that don't be scared to jump into things that you're not comfortable painting, and definitely just get out of your comfort zone. And the more you struggle, the more you're gonna grow as an artist. So don't give up and just keep painting and keep drawing and stay happy.